Welcome to the Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man. Live from Studio C at media stations in Bohemia, New York.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Power Hour. My name is Norman, also called the Music Man. And know that gentleman up there where it says NG up there, that is not Lisa. Lisa is not here this evening. She is away, but he does smile. I would like to introduce that gentleman to you. His name is Mike Weiner, and Mike is the founder and owner of NRG. I'm going to ask him to explain what NRG means. Everybody hears me talk about NRG every week. A lot of my guests that come on come from NRG. We're a fabulous networking community. So, Mike, welcome to the air.
Norman, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you tonight. I started NRG back in 2001. We were live meetings. COVID hit. We pivoted. We are a networking organization. We totally utilize laws of attraction, helping people manifest their goals. And I've created a network now that's on Zoom. We are all over the country. We're in Canada, and we are growing like wildfire. And our guest today, Bernie's been a big part of that. And Norman, you've been a big part of that. And I thank you both for your support. And I'm fired up about NRG, and I'm fired up to be your co-host tonight.
Oh, we thank you for being here. Look, the crowd is just cheering you on. Wow.
Absolutely. I can hear that crowd.
That is sensational. You know, they're also going to cheer. They're going to cheer our guest. We're going to. He is a very, very special member of NRG. His business is a phenomenal business that helps other businesses tremendously, and he's going to get to tell us a little bit about it. So, welcome, Bernie DeSantis from Insignia.
Thanks, Norman. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Mike.
There you go. Take a bow. Excellent.
I'll give you a little twist of the stash, too.
The stash is killer. By the way, I got regards for it. I got a phone call earlier. By the way, if anybody wants to call in, the number is 631-987-8477. That's 631-987-8477. This gentleman called and he said, I just wanted to get welcome Bernie DeSantis to your show tonight. And I asked him his name. He said his name was Ron DeSantis. He said he was from, is that a relative?
Oh, one of my paisans.
Oh, okay. Just checking because he was pretty strong about that. Oh. All right. Well, welcome, Bernie. Bernie, tell us a little bit about, or tell us a whole lot about the Insignia training.
Awesome. Thanks, Norman. I appreciate it. And again, thank you for having me on the show.
It's our pleasure.
So I'm the owner of Insignia Training Partners. We're a full-service project-based learning and development company based out just outside of Detroit, Michigan. We've been in business since September 11th of 2007. What we do is provide skilled learning resources on a contract or project basis. And we also provide talent acquisition services for large organizations looking to add that skilled talent to their workforce.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
That is the same thing as headhunting and recruiting, correct?
In a large respect, yeah, absolutely. The difference between me and a typical headhunter or recruiter is we solely and only focus on learning and development.
I will tell you, though, I have been in the staffing and recruiting executive search business for 35 years before I decided to get out of it. So I have a really good idea about that portion, of your business. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Please go ahead.
Not at all, Norman, and God bless you because it is a very hard business.
Tell me.
Well, we help businesses really of any size. Most of our clients currently and for the last, 17 years now have been large enterprise level clients. But the reality is even one-man companies, right, small consultancies, they are still doing training, right? We're able to help any type of organization that has a learner involved. And that's really the question that we ask, because, again, you could be that single entrepreneur watching YouTube videos and doing, online courses. It could be small businesses with just a few employees who job shadow as they're training. And perhaps, again, we're talking about larger organizations who have, dozens of trainers and instructional designers and really the full gamut building e-learning and delivering webinars and classes daily. We've supported all three sizes and types of organizations. Again, reality is every company trains their employees, oftentimes informally, oftentimes without any consistency or predictability or any repeatable results. They just do what they do.
There's
And we're
even
talking,
there's even training in networking groups
absolutely there is. Yeah.
after a
In
while,
fact,
and it's not training like you do. It's
no,
that
it's a
when
little
when
different.
people go on, they tell their story, they explain who they are, what they're looking for, yada yada. But sometimes they don't get it until the third or fourth time that they're doing it, and then they
Yeah.
start getting a response.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and in that type of situation, it's really about the result, right? Because when you're
Right.
doing those networking meetings, those virtual coffees, I mean, I was guilty of it for a while too. You show up, you introduce yourself, hey, this is what I do, and you end up walking away with nothing, and maybe not even an introduction, until you start to figure out how to work those meetings, right, and have those conversations with people. And part of that process is going to those networking meetings and talking through those best practices.
Sometimes, 'cause I've done a lot of training. Everybody that worked for me in the headhunting world, and I had hundreds. So we had 100 employees when I left. Got trained by me. There was a lot of different types of training. It was back in the day. It was not as sophisticated and professional as you do, because also the business is not all that sophisticated and such. People want to hire. Yeah, send me the person that I want, and I'll send you a fee, and would be done. But people got to, when you interview somebody, when you go and you want to pitch yourself, the key word is don't tell them what you do right away. Ask them how you can help them,
That's
what
key.
they're all about. That's what they want to hear. They want to know that you're calling for them, not just we all know we're pushing ourselves, but for them. How can I help you?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Norman. And Mike talks about this a lot in the meetings, right? The law of attraction he mentioned earlier. I knew it a long time ago as the law of reciprocity, right? And it's simply helping people and doing the right thing and putting good energy out there for people, regardless of whether or not it comes back to you. But in all likelihood, because you're doing it for those right reasons, it does come back to you, right? And that's how that works. The law of attraction, the law of reciprocity, right? Helping people for the right reasons gives you the right results in the long run.
Tell me about how when you got started. Let's go back to your childhood. Did you grow up in Detroit and surrounding area?
Did. Yeah, I grew up in Detroit. I've in fact spent of my 43 years on this planet, I've spent 37 of them right in and
In
around
Detroit.
Detroit. Yeah,
So, needless to say, you live in the suburbs of Detroit now?
I do. Yep, St. Clair Shores, Michigan, just outside of Detroit.
It sounds really pretty.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting is we're right on the water, and I am not really a water guy.
So you
Go
you
figure.
don't have a boat.
Don't have a boat.
All right.
No,
Do
I
you-
love to go and sit out there, at the
it's
beach or go
very
to the
mellow.
parks. But
It,
yeah, I'm
it's
not
very-
really a boat guy. I don't know how that happened.
When you were a child, what were you thinking about doing? As you started getting older and seeing your dad at work and what he did, and aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, their parents, what did you want to do with yourself?
Well, we talked about it just briefly, and as it pertains to my mustache in the pre-show there. I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, Norman. That was my goal.
What
That
was
was
your
my
position?
dream. That's what I wanted to do. Yep.
What was
I
your
was
position?
I was really a utility player, but I probably had the most success at third base. Yeah.
Well, that is the spot.
Hot corner, baby.
Oh,
Give me
yeah.
every hot shot. I loved it. It was my favorite spot. When I was 16 years old, I went out to a tryout, and I was the only guy at the tryout for this to go and play against the Puerto Rican U.S. We were the U.S. national team going to play against a local Puerto Rican team that they had put together. I was the only guy at that tryout who hit a home run. Really quite proud of the fact that I put that ball right in the windshield of a Cadillac.
Oh boy.
Wow.
It wasn't anybody that you knew that owned the Cadillac, though, was it?
I mean, I didn't know who they were, but they were pretty pissed.
I'm sure they were kind of annoyed. I'll tell you a little baseball story. I'll just bring it up for a second. Back in 1985, I went with a friend of mine to Yankee Fantasy Camp in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And you could go, you're playing right on, at that time, Fort Lauderdale training facilities for the Yankees. Now they have a brand new one, of course. And when you walked out there, right, you went into the locker room, it was your name up on top, your uniform was inside there, really cool. You put your uniform on, grab your glove, you go outside, and you start playing with the rest of your team members. Okay, long story short, I get behind the plate. I was going to catch this game. And my other teammates, they're warming up and they're throwing a ball. All of a sudden, Bucky Dent decides to come in. And for those of you who don't know who Bucky Dent was, he was probably one of the most famous shortstops the Yankees have ever had, and they've had a bunch of them. He's the guy that hit the home run that sent Boston home back in the day. So he comes in to pitch. He's not a pitcher. All of a sudden, he yields, he throws the ball, and he breaks my thumb.
Wow.
He broke my thumb. Seven, and I caught it exactly where you're supposed to catch the ball. It's not like I never caught before, and broke my thumb. So I have such admiration for how these ball players can achieve the things that they do. I would go into the batting cage and, hit 60, and these guys are hitting 100, and I would miss at 55 and 60. So
I mean, I can barely see it go by anymore at about 70. That's pretty fast.
That's crazy.
As it is. I mean, think about 90, 100 miles an hour in a car. Now we're talking about a baseball, right?
So you wanted to be a baseball player. That almost happened. Didn't exactly work. What did you jump to next?
So, I, like a lot of kids, went to college. I had no idea what I wanted to do. My aunt was in the auto business for a little while, and she suggested that I went to Northwood University. I was 19 in my second year there, and, in my wisdom, I found out that there was a second campus outside of Michigan, actually two campuses, one in West Palm Beach, Florida, and one in Cedar Hill, Texas. So I decided I was going to go and study on the beach, and picked up sticks and went down to West Palm Beach for 3 years, and went to college down there and graduated with a marketing and management degree. Again, in my wisdom, I decided marketing, because every product and service out there needs to be sold.
Right.
They're going to have a marketing department. I should get a job easy. That didn't happen quite as easy as I thought, and I ended up in sales like most people with a marketing degree.
That's what they do. It's a fact. That's how it goes.
I think almost everybody should try a little bit of a stint in sales and a little bit of a stint in restaurants and service. I think it really builds a lot of character. Yes, it is also sales. You're right. But food service in and of itself is a different beast. But I think you learn a lot in those type of businesses. My first sales job was at Quicken Loans. I was a mortgage banker for almost a year.
Quicken? That was a big company.
Quicken Loans, baby. Good old Danny Gilbert. I enjoyed the atmosphere. He built an amazing company. I hated being on the phones and doing hard sales, right? Asking people for credit cards to close mortgages and things like that. But I got really, really interesting while I was there. My coworkers, for whatever reason, would constantly come up to me and ask questions. How about this loan program? These were the qualifications that the person had, or their credit score. They gave me this objection, whatever it may have been. They come and they ask me for my advice, and I'd give it to them. Even though the managers, the director of mortgage banking sitting right next to me, and they would go back and they would execute. They would go on the phone, they would close the deal, do whatever they had to do. So a few months of that went by, and finally my leaders were like, okay, we recognize that you're not happy. Would you like to become a leadership development trainer? And so obviously I accepted that.
They created that position for you?
They created that position for me. Yeah. I apparently had a gift, right? People listened to me when I spoke. I don't know exactly why, or didn't know exactly why at the time. But when I spoke, people would listen. And so I started working with these leadership development, prospects, who were trying to become leaders in the organization. And, my focus was on experiential learning. And a lot of people have started to become savvy to what this is now, but it's creating experiences for people where they learn something from it. In my case, I was taking these groups of people out to ropes courses and to SWAT team training courses. And we would build
I never
these
heard of that
8-hour
term. I never heard of that term before. SWAT team training?
Yeah, a SWAT team training. So like SWAT teams that go in and take out bad guys,
right.
They have simulation courses where they use airsoft guns and simunitions and even paintball sometimes.
Really?
So we would create these missions where they would have to use the very same skill sets they would use in the office: communication, problem solving, teamwork, right? And they would leave these 8-hour excursions, missions, trials, if you will. And, we get back to the office on Monday, and I would have lines of people coming up to my desk thanking me for the experience. They figured out a way to handle, a conversation with their son or their daughter a little bit better.
You know what? What I think a major plus is for you, and people like yourself, like Mike, and I'm going to throw myself in there, is our tone, our inflection, how we speak, how we kind of like command attention. And that's what I think took you down that road, and those people recognized your talent.
I honestly feel like I was blessed that somebody did. Because because I didn't know exactly what I was going to do if I wasn't selling mortgages after that. But yeah, people really enjoyed it. They took a lot away from it, and it made me fall in love with learning and development.
So how long did you spend in the training section?
So I was with Quicken Loans and their leadership development team for 4 years after my 1 year on the phone. Then the mortgage crunch 2008 hit, and like a lot of organizations, they laid off and let go of anyone who wasn't producing revenue.
Right.
It's just a fact. That's how it happens. I pivoted. Obviously there's a lot of call centers out there, and that's really all Quicken Loans was and is even now is a call center for mortgages. So I followed that path. I stayed with call centers and sales. I stopped at a place called Lifestyle Lift that's now out of business, but I sold facelifts over the phone. That was interesting and exciting for a
what
while.
kind of lifts?
Facelifts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, facelifts. They did an infomercial late in the evening, and folks would call in wanting to look and feel younger, and we would sell them on a facial procedure.
Botox.
Botox, they had it was basically a lift. It wasn't with strings, but they would go in tiny incisions. It was outpatient, so people were going home the very same day after having those procedures. It was interesting. Like I said, they're now out of business, but I learned a lot.
Did you ever try one yourself to learn the experience?
Absolutely not, sir.
I thought I could get you to say yes.
I know a meat market when I see one, unfortunately. But again, it wasn't a great organization in my opinion. They did some great work for some people, but I learned a lot personally. And when you're talking about learning and development and unique products, that wasn't the most unique that I ever worked with. I also worked for a company that manufactured autopsy, mortuary, and animal science equipment.
Really?
He sold body bags and brain saws, body trays and body coolers. That was really interesting. I didn't talk about what I did over dinner for a couple of years. But,
I can understand that.
Every product and service needs to be sold. Every product and service needs to have some type of education around it. And, at the end of the day, that's what I was good at. I was good at teaching other people about processes or about products or about systems. And eventually I found myself at a BPO call center where they actually had 80 different programs at any given time that they were working with. I like to joke with people that if you watch TV for an hour, you probably had 30 phone numbers to our call center come across your screen. We had Sony was one of our clients. We had the Jitterbug cell phone for senior citizens. We sold SEO. We had Select Quote life insurance, several auto and health
was
insurance
one of yours?
I'm sorry?
Select Quote was one of your companies?
No, it was not one of my company. I worked there, and this was one
right.
of that company's clients.
Gotcha.
But they had nearly 80 clients in total, and I was director of training there. And
was
I had
each
the
company
opportunity
different?
to create...
Was the training for each one different, or was it the same set principles, and then you changed?
That's exactly right. So what I focused on was the things that were similar across all of the programs. Things like your soft skills, right? If it's customer
phone.
service or sales, yeah, you pick up the phone.
Up the phone.
Right? You have some empathy. You ask some pointed questions. You close a few times, right? There's processes to those type of things that are tried and true in those type of environments. And then we focused on systems, right? The things that are the same. They need to use Microsoft Outlook. They had proprietary CRMs that they worked with. So we focused on all of those things that were similar or the same. And when you take all of those things out of the picture, it leaves only the few things that are different. And then it's just another widget, right? You learn what's different about it and you focus on those things. It's one class and they're out the door and working.
So when you go in and train, you have various different clients and they're in all different walks of life and so on.
That's right.
And you have a whole bunch of people that are going to go in there and you're going to train your clients on whatever it is they're asking you to teach.
Right.
So you have to teach your employees first what to present to those clients, whether it's a car dealership or it's Botox or, medical supplies. How do you do that?
The truth is that I was pretty lucky to really enjoy learning about products and services. So for me, it was fairly simple. But a lot of people who get into this line of work, they're very similar, right? And they're able to understand the processes and the similarities behind all of the different things that they teach. So when you look at it from the perspective of what's the same and what have I already done, and then you only have to focus on what's different, it's actually pretty easy to learn about these processes and these different systems. You know, I can go from a leadership development program for Chewy, the pet food company, and tomorrow I can be doing sales for, you know, another Fortune 500 company. And then the following day after that, I might be doing tax or you know, insurance programs for another company. For us, it's about the facilitation of it. And typically, if you have well-designed content, any good facilitator who is experienced in delivery can pick up that content and deliver it, even if they're not a subject matter expert.
I am, and always when I say am, I guess I still am. Forget the entertainment business, but I was a telephone guy. I worked, I really worked that phone. And after a while, you know what to say, you know what not to say. We talked in the very beginning about when you walk into a room and you say hello to somebody and you're looking for their response, whether you're going to make a sale or you're not going to make a sale, just by their response. And it was the same way when you said, hey, Jim, nice to say hello to you. You know, it was how you presented yourself, whether you could keep them there, you know, for a minute or two to get your word across.
Right. That's absolutely right.
You know, Mike, when your impression of Bernie, because you always talk about, you bring Bernie up when he's never around. You know?
Yeah. I've taken a lot of notes, and Bernie, I think you're doing a great job. It was just a couple of quick observations for people watching this today. If you need a good person, Bernie is it. I know I've met Nellie, I've met Joey. You got some great people around you. You're a great leader in that respect. You guys talked about something that is so forgotten, inflection in the voice. I absolutely love that. And Norman, you got it. I know I have it. And Bernie, you got it. And I think one of the reasons I remember you came to an energy experience and timing wasn't right. I followed up with you. I had no idea if you were going to join or not, but you did. And one of the things I hear about you, you're not only are you coachable, people can teach you, but you can teach other people. And I think, Norman, it's very important. Bernie is the kind of guy that you can listen to somebody and you're coachable. And I like a new word, mentorable. That's a Mike Weiner word. But you're also a very good leader because you're able to convey that message across.
Right.
You had me at baseball. I played second base in high school. I'm a little older than you. Otherwise, we could have been third to second to first for a double play. But I am a huge Orioles fan, big baseball fan, and you know I love your background. But you know, for the folks watching, this is a guy you definitely want to get with. I've been doing energy, Norman, 23 years, and Bernie, you got everything that I'm looking for. Your inflection, you're relatable. I think that's something else that people don't always get, Norman.
Your people
He's
are
very
relatable. They're
Yeah.
like offspring of you. And what I want to do right now, Mike, is not interrupt. I'm going to bring you back. We're on this. I want to let people know how to get in touch with you. So let's give off your phone number. Please give us your number twice.
My number is 734-560-6344. That's my personal cell phone. You can reach me, preferably not late at night, of course, but you know, really any time of day. Again, 734-560-6344.
All right, we're going to do that 3 or 4 times before this night is over, so people are going to have no excuses to do it. But continue, Mike. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, no, I'm just about wrapped. But I think, Bernie, the way that I know you're a good leader is Nellie and Joey, when they come to the meetings, they're on spot. They're very
prepared.
coachable. You know, the pinball that I do where you ask for industries, not everybody gets it right away. I mean, Nellie knocked it out of the park. Joey did. And they're very different personalities, and you know that. But I saw people listening closely to Nellie and Joey when they talk. And that's a representation of you. Not all leaders can get that message across through their people. And I mean, I've been accused of not delegating enough. And it's a challenge. You and I talked before the show, getting good people. It's not easy. And I know Norman's, background in headhunting. I've had a lot of companies. You probably heard of Adecco and Manpower that were involved with me. I've been doing this 23 years, the networking gig. I'm not new to it, and it's not my first rodeo. But yeah, I like you. I like the people you brought in, and I'm excited about helping you and grow. I think we're just in the beginning stages, and I'm going to turn it back to Norman, the music man.
Okay, thank you. Well, I want before we take a break, and believe it or not, half the show is over already, which is really insane.
Too
I'd
fast.
say it
Too
really
fast. We need to go 2 hours. Let's go 2 hours. I'm just kidding.
For somebody like Bernie, we do need 2 hours, all right? Because we have a lot more, and hopefully we're going to be able to touch it all. Explain to me what experimental training is.
So it's experiential. So, think of the word experience, right? You're giving them an environment to learn from, and you basically create a situation or a simulation for them that forces them to utilize similar or similar is probably the right word, skill sets that they would use in the office, and oftentimes the very same. So, I'll give you the ropes course as an example. Oftentimes when you're on a ropes course, you're tied in if you're being safe. But there's still a fear of being 3 stories up in the air, traversing across a single rope. And oftentimes it requires 2 people or 3 people in, unison, communicating and working in stride to be able to get across that, that bridge, that rope bridge, or whatever the case may be. And through those stressful situations and being able to execute on the very same skill sets that they use in the office every day, they end up back in the office and they take a rough phone call and they hang it up and they're like, wow, okay, well, at least I wasn't 3 stories up in the air. Or, I just had a difficult coaching with one of my team members, but I didn't have any bullets flying by my head. And they come to realize that, the stress of the office, it can have its rough moments, but oftentimes it's not life or death. And even more often than not, you have all the skill sets that you need to be able to do what you do every day.
When it becomes not life and death, but let me explain. There are different types of sales, and you get paid in different ways. Some of it could be a salary, some of it can be commission, some of it can be a combination of both. When your financial life is dependent upon you making that sale, and you're close, but you're not there yet, and all of a sudden you can't talk anymore. You get, I can't get that word out.
You're froggy.
You're fried. How do you get your people past that?
It's a lot of it is the scraping of the knees and failing, and then debriefing and talking about it and coaching and doing some role plays over and over again to ad nauseum. Because the truth of it is, guys, people don't rise to the occasion. They don't. They fall to their level of training and preparation. That's just a fact. People don't rise to the occasion more often than not.
If you don't try, you'll never know. And it's okay. I taught this to it's okay to fail.
Absolutely.
Failing is fine. That's how you learn.
Experience.
That's how you learn. But if you don't try, you're going to kick yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're not going to know what to do. All right, this is the time we're going to take a short break. About a 2-minute break, so sit tight and we'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you, guys. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in just a second. Hi, everybody. My name is Norman Wasserman, and next to me is Lisa Rodino. Lisa and I host a TV podcast show called The Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man.
So what does the Business Power Hour do? We are here to talk about you and your business. We will put you on air for 1 hour to highlight your business in front of thousands of viewers worldwide, helping you generate more leads to grow your business.
And we do this every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. right here. What are you doing?
I'm keeping you on point. My name is Lisa Rodino. I am a commercial loan advisor and broker. Have you been finding that your business's cash flow is not where you need it to be? Have you found yourself taking from your personal accounts to meet your business's obligations? Have you found that those quick solutions of quick money are starting to get awfully expensive? My job is to find the right funding products for my clients so they can get back to working in their business and give me the task of finding the best options for their situation. Give us a call today to learn more. 516-268-0350.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friend Entertainment USA. My name is Norman Wasserman. I am also known as the Music Man. Let me just tell you a little bit about Friend Entertainment. We put on concerts for charities, and we do that everywhere from New York to Las Vegas. We do R&B, Motown, rock and roll, jazz, whatever it is that you wish. Friend Entertainment will deliver the best of the best for you and your charity. Here are some of the names of the talent that have performed with us on our stage. Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, The Temptations, Earth, Wind and Fire, the one and only ELO, Elton John himself, Kool and the Gang, and the fabulous Donna Summer. Go to our website, friendentusa.com. That's www.friendentusa.com, or feel free to call us at 631-698-9696. 631-698-9696, and we'll see you at the next show.
We're back.
Okay, welcome back to the Business Powwow with our special co-host tonight, Mike Weiner from the NRG Group, and our special guest, Bernie DeSantis. Bernie DeSantis from Insignia Corporation. Bernie, why did you get into this profession? Tell us the reason why.
Honestly, I like I said, I fell in love with it. I tell a lot of people this, and I think a lot of people have heard it. Most people I think would rather be in the casket than be the one giving the eulogy, right? Most people are very scared of getting on stage or in front of a group, and training and leading people, and that's never really been a fear for me. I don't need or love the spotlight necessarily, but I'm pretty comfortable in it overall. And I love to learn new things. I love processes, products, tools, systems. All of it really excites me. And, when I learn something new, I love to tell other people about it. And, like I said, it's about the give so that there is some take in the long run, I guess. But, if at the end of a day, somebody comes, or if at the beginning of the day, somebody comes to me and they learn something and they're better when they leave me than when they came, I know that I've done a good thing. We're all in business to make money. We have bills to pay, but I take great pride in knowing that what I do, ultimately helps somebody when I go to bed at night.
Not only does it help you, but it helps your client, but it helps your employees.
Yeah.
How long have a lot of your employees been with them? Give me the amount of years. Have you had people there 10, 15 years?
I've got some contractor resources that have been with the company almost 15 years on and off doing various projects. Yeah.
What kind of projects do they work on? Tell us. That's actually a good point. Can you tell us about some of the projects? If you don't want to mention the names of the companies, that's fine. But what industry they were in or are in, and what kind of projects you did?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that'll give me an opportunity to tell you about, one of our newest services as well.
Great.
I think everybody remembers a couple of years ago when COVID happened, right? A majority of corporate trainings was done in person, period, across the board. Doesn't matter what industry you were in or what you were doing. Most of it was in a boardroom or in a conference room. A facilitator would show up, they'd have their PowerPoint, they'd talk for a couple of hours, maybe a couple of days. People would come from all over the country, travel there, so on and so forth. And then you go back home, right? And these companies spend thousands and thousands of dollars to send all their people to these seminars. Well, one of my clients is a global tax and advisory firm. This company has hundreds of thousands of employees all over the globe. If you don't know much about, CPAs and tax advisors, along with a lot of other professions, they need to have a certain number of what's called CPE credits every year. Certified professional education, right? And if they don't get those credits, they lose their licenses and they can't practice. Lawyers are one. Believe it or not, massage therapists are in that category as well. Mm-hmm. This particular company, they were doing about 90% of their training programs in person. COVID obviously put a stop to that. We were fortunate enough to already be doing some instructional design work. So we were updating their materials for the tax changes for that year. COVID shut everything down. They couldn't do any more of their training in person. So they shifted it all to Zoom, similar to what Mike did with his, his networking business. The problem was that they had hundreds of facilitators that had never facilitated in Zoom before. They had no idea what they were doing. So while we helped them to transition their content, we also had to help them transition their facilitators. So we ran workshops with all their facilitators over 2 days, 6 hours, and we taught them how to facilitate in Zoom, how to utilize breakout rooms and use the annotations and polling questions and chats. Surprisingly, some people did really well, and other people's were like Ferris Bueller's teacher, right? They just absolutely could not bring an ounce of personality to it, no matter how much subject matter expertise they had. And unfortunately, they weren't super technical when it came to the platform itself.
What do you do with a person? What do you do with a person like that, who you really, in your gut, feels could really be really good at what it is that you're presenting, but doesn't get it? How do you turn that person? How do you turn that switch on?
Oftentimes it's really hard to change a person's personality, right? You can't just make somebody all of the sudden Tom Cruise, when they're Ben Stein. It doesn't work like that. But what you can do is help to manage the environment that they're facilitating in. And so Zoom, again, is the one that we're working in right now, but utilizing all of the tools and features that are available in it for that engagement feature, right? Keeping people involved. They're there for a reason, and that's to learn whatever the subject matter is. But if they're off in their email or, playing on their phone, they're not paying attention. So leveraging the tool that they're in is actually one thing that we do that requires the facilitator to do absolutely nothing different. And it was a huge success. All of their training programs went off without a hitch. I won't say without a hitch, because there were certainly some issues.
Always.
But not a single facilitator ever turned around to me and said, I'd rather go back to doing it by myself.
How many employees do you have?
That doesn't happen. Say that again?
How many employees does Insignia have?
I am actually the only full-time employee of Insignia. And the reason for that is we hand select our contractors for each project that we work on based on their experience and skill sets.
That's interesting, because I'm the only employer that Friend Entertainment has.
Yeah. That's, honestly, it allows me to be adaptable and to be really nimble. And again, to get the best resource available for the budget that my client has. We have thousands of instructional designers, facilitators, virtual producers, project managers, voiceover actors, really, you name it. If there's someone who does something in the process of learning or teaching, we have access to those people, and we assign those to the right people to the right project.
You mentioned something about a new service. Can you tell us about it?
Absolutely. So that new service is exactly what I just described, and that's the virtual producer. So there are a lot of folks that throughout the course of COVID had to transition their presentations, their training programs, their workshops, their meetings, all to Zoom. So what we do is we provide somebody who is a subject matter expert in Zoom to manage all of the logistics before, during, and after the meeting, training, or webinar, so that the facilitator, while they're there, they're a subject matter expert. So they should be focused on what they're a subject matter expert in, right? They're there to talk about tax and accounting. They shouldn't be worried about the one person who's having audio issues or can't get on camera, right? So that virtual producer handles all of those technical support issues. They're kind of the Wizard of Oz, if you will, behind the scenes. And basically what happens is you start to see a seamless event where transitions happen without anyone having to say or do anything, because that virtual producer is behind the scenes, just like a television producer or, the producer who's working here with us today for your podcast, right? They're managing all this stuff behind the scenes so that you can focus on the conversation that you and I are having, as opposed to pushing a whole bunch of buttons.
Sounds very familiar to what I do with my concerts.
I'm sure.
We have the same situations. I want talk about the new facilitators that you have when you deliver the Zoom conversations.
So, oftentimes people are not trained facilitators. Like I said, they would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. They don't really want to be on stage or in front of the camera. And again, a lot of times there's really not much that you can do other than practice with them and get them comfortable and familiar with the platform or the venue that they're going to be working in, right? And these are talking about, again, subject matter experts that are not, your traditional facilitators who do it every day. And in those cases, again, it's about repetition, right? And getting them focused on what they are experts in and what they are confident in, and that's talking about their content. If we're able to take all of the extra stuff out of the way for them, there's no roadblock. And at the end of the day, they should then be able to deliver a good presentation of their subject matter that they're already an expert in, and not get thrown off, right, by the other stuff. If we're talking about the facilitators that I provide, they are experts. That's what they do every single day. They go in, they learn a topic or a subject matter, and they teach it to people. And the reason that they're able to do that is one, they are not afraid to step on stage and occasionally, excuse the expression, make an ass of themselves. But they don't mind making some mistakes, right? And learning, because that's what it's all about. They're true professionals. They will learn your product, your service, your system, whatever it takes. And they'll walk in and deliver it just as you would, the subject matter expert.
How do you find these people?
A lot of networking.
You think?
A lot
You
of
think?
networking. Yeah. Between the events that I go to, obviously I work with Mike. I go to a lot of the energy events, or I have my folks go to them. I also am part of other ones that are local and in person. And honestly, I'm open to have a cup of virtual coffee with anyone. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of products and services out there that do require certain subject matter expertise. So until you start having conversations with those folks, you don't have access to them.
It's similar to in what I do with the entertainment world. I get phone calls, I get email. People are looking to work, and they're looking. Let me explain. There are a lot of talented people in this world. There are a lot of people that can sing and play instruments and whatever that were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they didn't get a chance to become a Billy Joel. They didn't get a chance to be a group like the Doobie Brothers or dance around the floor like the Temptations.
That's right.
But they can. If given the opportunity, they can. And what you're doing is you're giving a lot of these people the opportunity to go and show their stuff, strut it, take that walk, it's really terrific. Tell us where you provide all your services.
So we're primarily obviously in the U.S. That's where we're based, but we have clients that do webinars and training programs all over the globe. One of our clients recently was McKinsey, and they are a global advisory firm, right? Consultancy, and they were doing virtual trainings on leadership development in literally every time zone, and we had virtual producers that were supporting those in every country. We did several in Turkey, quite a few in France, and throughout all the EU. Very specifically, I remember doing one in Greece. That was really interesting. We did quite a lot in Asia Pacific time zones as well. At the end of the day, when you're talking about virtual, it doesn't matter where you are globally. I can be in a living room in Australia, in 5 minutes.
I always preferred the one-on-one. I like meeting people. I like shaking hands. I like, reading their face to see how this conversation is going to go, which you can still do with Zoom. I had to reinvent myself as well. And I think you had to reinvent yourself too, as you said, especially when COVID hit. I do live concerts. No one's coming to see my shows. So what am I supposed to do after 36 years? You got to go do something. So I reinvented myself by sending my concerts. I did a live show in a studio and sent it out worldwide. We streamed it all over the world until where it was time where people can go back, because I love the live stage.
Yeah.
I don't want to see streaming. I don't even want to offer it. I want live concerts to go on. Are there any upcoming events or trade shows that you're going to be attending coming up shortly?
So I'm actually going to be going to a business seminar with another networking group, Badass Business Summit, out in Dallas, Texas. That's in September. So if you are interested in doing a little bit of networking in person, that's a great place to go. I'm also creating a program called the Facilitating Virtual Meetings, Webinars, and Trainings Workshops. If you do as much networking as I do, you oftentimes run into folks on Zoom that they don't realize they're doing a poor job in Zoom. They don't light themselves well. They don't know how to place their microphone. They don't know where to put their camera. They don't know how to use the tool, period. So that's going to be an upcoming workshop that we're going to be offering as a public workshop for anyone who wants to attend.
I think you should talk to, I'm talking on my own. You should talk to Mike about that. I think that's a great piece of information for the people of NRG to use.
Absolutely.
All right, because when we do our. Sorry.
I was gonna say, Norman, real quick. Yeah, there's a lot of members, Bernie. Their cameras off. They're not looking at it. They're looking down. They're looking sideways on the computer. It just shows a lack of interest, and they're not engaged.
They got their pussycat running across their desk.
Oh my God, that's the big one.
You know, and that
Yeah.
happens to some very key people that come on to
It happens.
NRG. You know, again, how do people get in touch with you? Give us your number.
Absolutely. So again, my number is 734-560-6344. 734-560-6344.
All right, I am out of breath, but we got some more work that we have
Hey
to
Norman,
go.
I got a question for
Please,
Bernie. I've
please,
been
go
dying
right
to
ahead.
ask. So Bernie, I've been thinking about what question to ask you, and here's my best question.
Fire away.
Two executives are sitting in their conference room. They're discussing the state of their company. What type of things do they say that if you were a bug on the wall, you would say, I can help you? What are the conversations look? Because I really want the audience that's watching this now and in the future to really get Bernie. So if these executives are talking, what are the type of things that they're saying each other that it's like, if you are a fly on the wall, you would say, hey, I'm here, I can help you.
That is a fantastic question, Mike.
That's
Thank
why I
you.
got him here.
That is a
I
fantastic.
come up with once a year, and Norman said he wanted me to co-host, so
It
I'm
took
coming
you-
up with spectacular questions,
Yeah,
Bernie.
I mean,
It
shot
took
your
you-
shot and you
Spectacular.
hit the bullseye, man. Really, really
You
good.
took you 50 minutes
Yeah.
to figure it out.
You know, for me, those type of conversations are around change management. They're around new hire and onboarding. They're around sales and customer service, right? Our salespeople aren't closing effectively when they have opportunities. They're talking about human resources, diversity, equity, and inclusion, government, social, and economic type courses. Software as a service, right? If they're rolling out new technology internally, needs training. Professional development, like I said, change management, leadership development, tax, insurance, e-learnings. People who are doing virtual meetings and webinars, workshops, and hosting. I love working with authors now, Mike. So many authors have great content, and they are dying to get it out in webinars. And I've started working with several, and it's fantastic. So if those two executives happen to be authors, I would definitely love to talk
I've
to
got
them
some
about.
great people I want to introduce you to,
I was
Bernie.
just going to say
Authors,
that in
ghostwriters,
NRG, we got a
etc.,
bunch of
yeah.
people right up your alley for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. People who want to share their expertise and subject matter, expertise that don't necessarily have an avenue to do it now at a large scale. And of course, if they're looking to hire, a vice president or director of training and development, those are obviously conversations that I want to have. I have thousands of people in my network that can fit those type of roles.
And that's where the staffing and placement situation comes in. Ka-ching, ka-ching.
Well, honestly, Norman, for 17 years, we've been working on project-based work, and we talk to a lot of people that don't want to be 1099 contractors. They want a job, right?
Yeah.
They want a full-time employment. So
But they've had enough.
oftentimes-
They had
Yeah.
enough, and as they get older, and the problem is that as you get older, and I'm speaking from experience, I'm 74 years old. I come off a lot younger. I act a lot younger, but people would never want to give me a chance because of age.
It happens.
And
You are not
and
wrong.
that's not to say, not for me. I mean, I have some businesses coming in, so I'm okay. But there are a lot of people that are not.
That's
And
absolutely
they're
true.
really, really talented people, and they're not given a shot. You mentioned something about projects. What are your favorite projects to work on?
I love leadership development projects. In fact, I'm working on 3 potential leadership development projects right now, and that honestly stems from my start back at Quicken Loans. It spoke to me back then, and it still speaks to me now. I feel like the greatest challenge of most organizations, especially right now in this day and age, is retention of good talent. And people don't leave organizations; they leave poor managers and poor leaders. So that's something that's very, very near and dear to my heart. I love leadership development. I love talking about communication and teamwork and problem solving. And those are all in the same sphere. I absolutely love it.
I have 4 questions left. All right, and hopefully we
wait.
can get them in before the guys over here start, pull the plug, as they call it. Here's one. Are you the first? Let's say you were not the first owner of Insignia, right? How did you come to acquire this company?
That's a
And
good question.
thank you. I'm just guessing that I don't know whether you were the first or only. I just kind of threw it in there.
No, I am the second owner. In fact, I purchased the company at the beginning of 2022. I worked within the business for almost 5 years on several different projects for Ford Motor Company,
Right.
Hertz Rent-A-Car, Ernst and Young, and then a small trade show group here in Detroit called Creative Services Group. I was fortunate enough to work with Ann Debus for those 5 years, and we came to a point right around I wouldn't say it was August-ish of 2021. And I said, Ann, I want to do more work with Insignia. I want more projects. I want more opportunities. I want more variety. And she said, I'd like to do you one better, Bernie. I really like the work that you do with my clients. I like the way that you treat them and the feedback that I get from them. And I'm ready to retire and set sail with my husband and get out of Dodge. Would you like to buy the company from me?
Being in the right place at the right time. That was perfect.
I said yes. And, here I am a year and a half later and doing well, growing and thriving.
Oh, that's great. All right. So this is a good, I like this question. You have worked on a lot of different projects. Yes. What was the weirdest situation, weirdest project that you ever came across?
I won't say that there were weird projects, but I mentioned it earlier. The weirdest stop along the way was working for the company that manufactured the autopsy and mortuary equipment. Yeah, I mean, calling pathologists and morticians and talking about, body trays and embalming tools. It was like going into a horror movie almost every day for me. I'm not really into the dead stuff, but it was good work. It was good money and it was interesting. And, getting to go in and see a morgue and see bodies and how they work on it. It was weird because it's not, really my thing per se.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting that you said that. For a short while, I was in the senior living world, and this was out in Long Island, and in the area that I was the town called Great Neck. I don't know if you're familiar with it. A lot of our listeners may be. In Great Neck, there must have been about 5 or 6 other senior living organizations. Within a 3-mile radius, there were 10 to 12. And part of my job as the sales director was to go see what my competition's doing. So this has to do with what you're talking about. So I walk in, I say hello to this lady, how you're expecting me. I'm here to look at a room for my mom. I'm thinking about moving my mom inside here. She says, well, let me show you around. And she shows me the different rooms, and she shows me the rec room. And she takes me to this situation and to that one, and she shows me the furniture, and she says, let me show you our dining room, which is, in that world, the dining room is like the main focus every day for seniors.
Yeah.
She says, hey, come take a look. This used to be our morgue. Now, I am looking to put my mom in a place, and you're showing me the morgue for the dining room? I mean, really, I just, that has never left me. What kind of services do you offer your individuals for small and medium-sized companies?
Small and medium-sized companies, they often don't have, really the budget to have a full-time employee focusing and working solely on learning and development and training. So, a company like mine, if they need a one-off type training, they can pay us to do it. And we also have off-the-shelf products as well, right? That they can purchase. It requires no customization. They can, watch it online in some cases, or we can deliver it to them in person or virtually. But again, a lot of those companies also are subject matter experts in their own right, and they need to get their product or their service out there. And so a lot of my clients now, especially again these authors that I've been speaking to, that's what they do, is they do webinars and mini training classes about their product or their service or whatever their subject matter expertise is, and we support those. So we'll create e-learnings for them. We'll create virtual training programs for them, simply so they can teach people about their product or service.
All right. Well, I got one last question. All right. Now, this is to me, it's an all-encompassing question. It's going to tie in from when we started, to our last note on stage right now. Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
When you say training, can you give us some examples of what you train or projects you have worked on. So this is
Yes.
from the beginning to where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So a few projects that I've worked on, I'll rattle off a couple to give you a good wide variety. Chewy, the pet food company, we worked with them on a leadership development program last year. They developed it internally, all of their own content. We didn't have any hands on that at all. But what they didn't have was facilitator resources and coaches that could meet with all of the 200 people that they wanted to put through that program. So we provided 3 leadership development facilitators that did 2 classes per week, both live and virtual, and then 4 leadership development coaches that met with every single participant in the program once every 2 weeks. It was a huge success. They absolutely loved it. And Chewy obviously is a huge and growing organization. Pet food obviously is the
That
industry.
is my go-to company. I use Chewy.
Mine too.
They're an amazing company.
And God forbid your pet ever passes away. They are the most empathetic
Really?
and thoughtful company out there. They will send you a card of condolences when your pet passes away.
Wow.
It is absolutely an amazing organization.
Well, they know, having a pet, I do fundraising, and there's a lot of rescue organizations that I help. The pet is your life.
They're like little furry children, really. They are.
Really
they
much
become
so.
part of your family and part of your life. And when they pass, it's difficult. And they have a company, millions of dollars company in revenue yearly. They're thinking about you, an individual who just lost your pet. That says something. And those are obviously the type of companies that I like to work with.
That's the kind of idea that you would come up with for your clients.
That is absolutely the type of client, an idea I would love to come up with for my clients.
Mike, I just thought of an idea. We want all these greeting card people in NRG.
Yeah, send out cards.
Now, how about that to people that have pets?
That would be amazing. Absolutely.
Before we say good night to Bernie, if there's anything else you want to say, because I want Bernie to let everyone know exactly how to get in touch with him again.
I got one. I have one more insightful question. Bernie, when you help a client, what kind of satisfaction does Bernie get? When you've taken a client and they had their challenge and you help them fix it, conquer it, solve it, whatever you want to say, how do you feel? I think that's really important for the viewers to hear, because I think you're an outstanding gentleman. You've done a lot of great things. You tried third base. That's okay. But, I'm joking with you, but how do you feel when you help a client out?
I mean, honestly, when we finish a project and the client has the result that they're looking for at the end of it, to keep it in baseball terms, I feel like I've won the World Series every single time, right? I mean, you go in there and you go in and you take your swings at whatever that project is, not necessarily knowing if you're going to hit it out of the park. But when the client comes up to you when it's done and they say, you've hit it out of the park, we got the result that we wanted, all of our people know or are doing this, and this, which is what we asked of you, I am heading to Disneyland in my head anyway.
I love that answer. That's a great answer.
We
Thank
have
you.
a lot of small, medium-sized companies that want to become medium and large-sized companies and so on. I think the information that you've given off this evening for a senior member of any business, doesn't have to be an owner. If you don't get a phone call or an email or some kind of message to Insignia, they should be let go. I mean, because you are so insightful and knowledgeable of what it is. I mean, I like to think that sometimes I'm insightful, and you're really impressive. You're just really terrific at what it is that you do, and I thank you so much for being on here. Tell everybody again how to get in touch with you. Give your phone number 2-3 times, I don't care, and give off your email address too. I don't want no excuses for people not getting in touch with you.
Awesome. Thank you again, Norman. I appreciate you the opportunity to be
pleasure.
here and talk about Insignia today. Again, my phone number is 734-560-6344. We actually did just roll out our new website, which is insigniatraining.com. Love to have everyone come and visit, check us out. You can read a little bit more up about all of our products and services and what we're able to offer for small, medium, large enterprise level, and even, startups and individuals. My email is Bernie, BERNIE, @insigniatraining.com. Love to hear from you. love to talk about learning and development.
Bernie, I don't want you to leave. It's time now to say goodnight to all our fans. But before we go, you hang in there. Mike, I want to thank you so much for being on here tonight. You know, one day you and I got to do like maybe an NRG NW. You know, kind of.
I was thinking we should do one about NRG and your company, but yeah, you know what? It's been a joy being here. And you know, Bernie, I know you, but I really got to know you tonight. I took 2 pages of notes. When I was looking down, I was taking notes. My mother taught me that as a kid, and I'm thirsty and hungry to learn more. And you were phenomenal tonight, so I appreciate you being here, Norman. I had a great time. I don't know what are you going to do when Lisa comes back? Have Lisa and me, and you have 3 people? I don't know.
Whoever offers me the most money gets to stay. That's how we'll do it. But before everybody goes, those of you that have been on the Business Power Hour and those of you that are thinking about being on the Business Power Hour, this tonight's show is a perfect example of what it is that we do, what we try to do for our clients, and get the word out there. Now, if you're not responsive to what Bernie did this evening, and understand the principles and such that he works on, and the training that he goes and does for companies to build them. Yeah, he's building himself. He's building his network. He's building his company. That's what he's supposed to do. You know, he's a business owner and he's a businessman. We're all doing the same thing, you know. So give yourself thought. Give Bernie a call. Find out a little bit more. You know, this is different. When you come on a show like this, you get the hour. You get to really present. It's not just being on NRG for 2 minutes explaining what you're looking for. People are finding out who you are. And when they find out who you are, they're going to like you. And when they like you, they're going to hire you. And you're going to create all kind of awareness for yourself. And I hope you get a whole bunch of that awareness, Bernie, because you are the man.
Thank you, Norman.
You are really the man. So hang in there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Surprise, we're back on Thursday. Tuesdays have been sold out. Thursday coming up this week. We got a really interesting guy. Let's just say he has a lot to do about dirt. I'll explain it to you on Thursday. You have a nice evening, and good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
The Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man is sponsored by Media Stations. Create your own media and have your own station. To get started with your own content, call or text 516-448-2066. That's Media Stations in Bohemia, New York.